What's up, everybody, and thank you for tuning in. We're going to break down the Khamzat Chimaev versus Robert Whittaker fight, right? We'll take a look at some of the wrestling brilliance that Khamzat put on display, and I really want you guys to focus on like a few, I'll repeat them. I repeat myself all the goddamn time, but I want you to focus on a few like key things throughout the breakdown, and that's going to be the emphasis of double underhooks, Khamzat's mobility, he constantly stays on his feet, and the way that he constantly causes dilemmas between defending the choke or the ground and pound and then wrist control, right? He's always winning the wrist control battle. So just three things to keep an eye on. Obviously, there's a million nuances to watch, right? But yeah, let's go ahead and jump into it. Guys, if you do me a favor and enjoy this, go ahead, leave a comment. Let me know what you thought of the fight. Give it a thumbs up. Subscribe. That's the most important one. And yeah, otherwise, guys, fucking enjoy. Thank you for tuning in. All right, so we're going to start off at basically the opening bell here, right? I mean, Khamzat's going to shoot within the first 10 or 15 seconds of the first round. But before we get to the shot, I want to pay attention to something important here, right? Because the feint that Khamzat throws with his hands isn't that impressive. But notice that every time Khamzat threatens with a level change, every time he dips, Whittaker's going to dip, right? Again, watch. Khamzat's going to dip. Boom, Whittaker's going to dip. Now, when we go the third time here, look, Khamzat's going to dip and he offers up the feint, but Whittaker doesn't really drop down and respond quite as drastically as he did during those first two kind of feints or level changes, if you will. And as Khamzat, look, I mean, the feint really isn't threatening or anything like that, but the hands of Whittaker are up right now, right? And that gives Khamzat an opportunity to get his hands to the legs, and man, it's like that's all he needs. Once he's here, right, he's going to continue going down to the ankles, pinning Rob up against the cage here. And again, from here, just technical brilliance. He's going to lock his hands together, start changing the angle, stepping around behind Rob. And Rob is going to do the right things here. Look, he's trying to get a whizzer, stand up to his feet here. But this is the little things, right? Watch how as Robert tries to stand up here, Khamzat's just going to subtly look with his right foot. He steps on the ankle of Whittaker. That's going to delay his ability to return to his feet and get his base underneath him by just a split second, but that's all that Khamzat needs. Now, Robert Whittaker's base becomes narrow. Khamzat can take a step in, and now he's underneath Whittaker, right? He's more aligned with him. He can elevate him. And now that he's elevated, he's just going to kind of drive him forward and start getting his hands to the mat. You guys will also notice there's a few things that I want to point out here. The double underhooks favor Khamzat a lot because there's a real emphasis on control when you get double underhooks. Notice how right here it's a little bit hard to see. It's cut off on the right side, but Khamzat's going to move his underhooks up under the armpits, and that makes room for that near side hook to start to come in. Right, you can see now that he's woven the near side hook in. Now, Whittaker wants to clear that, obviously, right? But here's the other thing that Khamzat does really well. He never sacrifices attachment for mobility, meaning a lot of the times you'll see people shake guys off the top because they try to hang on to the back. Anytime that Khamzat starts to lose a hook, he just gets mobile, right? So he'll let his hip drop down. He gets his base back about him. You'll notice he still has double underhooks, but he just steps down and he stays on his feet outside that leg of Whittaker. And with his double underhooks, look, he starts getting heavy towards Whittaker's head and driving him down to the mat, right? Constantly working his hands to the mat. And you got to think, your hands in the mat are doing a couple different things, right? Obviously, it's exhausting, but it's also keeping you from breaking the body lock. It's very hard for you to get your hands up to fight the hands of Khamzat to disconnect this lock if they're posted into the mat to keep you from fucking basically face planting here, right? So again, Khamzat just doing a brilliant job of, look, always mobile, up on his feet, and these opportunities to start sinking in the hooks, they just open themselves up, right? Because eventually Robert's going to make a mistake. When the guy's this good at control and he's so many steps ahead of you, I think Khamzat's just patient enough to know that these things are going to come if I kind of give them time and allow them, right? Look how Whittaker tries to build up here. Khamzat's going to hook the far leg, start stretching him out and break him back down to his butt, right? But Whittaker has some good defense here. It's just that Khamzat is so high level on the ground. I mean, Whittaker has good takedown defense. We've seen it historically throughout his UFC career. But look, this is another thing that I want to point out. This will be another consistent theme throughout this breakdown. Look at the wrist control from Khamzat. That's what I mean. He's ahead of you on the mobility. He's ahead of you. He's always winning the head height battle. His head is almost always above his opponent's head. He's always winning the hand fight battle. So now Whittaker's not posting into his hands anymore. He's come up to fight the hands. So Khamzat just gets out in front and starts winning the hand fight exchange, right? I mean, Obviously, it's more nuanced and complicated than that. But at the end of the day, some of this stuff is that simple. Like Khamzat is just winning these small little races and just grappling more effectively than Whittaker here. Look, wrist control opens up an opportunity for ground and pound. Whittaker's going to leave that hand up there defending a little bit too long, and you'll see in a second here. Khamzat threatens with the choke. But look, as he's covering up, Khamzat's just going to eventually, hold on, where is it? Gives him a few for good measure. But look how he just punches that wrist down. Has this near side hook. Again, good head control, always winning the head height battle. And now he can use this to just start driving Whittaker down to a knee and breaking down his posture, right? He's just constantly moving, right? Constantly mobile. You'll see here, look, Whittaker actually does the right thing here. Look how this near side hook, Whittaker's going to step back. He clears the hook. But again, Khamzat doesn't care about attachment and keeping the back. He cares about mobility. Notice how he keeps his feet outside, and look, he just steps right back up. Now we're mobile. Now we can move around Whittaker, and now we can, look, step behind him and start sitting him down to the other hip and creating openings this way. Look how the knee and elbow naturally starts to separate. That's what I mean. You're going to make room for your hooks eventually if you just keep this back and forth on your opponent. They're going to make mistakes. Look, he tries to step up for the hook here. Whittaker actually does a good job of blocking it. But Khamzat stays up and he stays mobile and he stays committed to these double underhooks. Now he's driving that knee in deep, and look, magically, there's no magic, right? My professor in college used to tell me that all the time when we were talking about like computers and shit, because it's confusing, and that's how I feel watching grappling sometimes. There's no magic, but goddamn, Khamzat makes you feel like you're watching magic. Right, he's got that near side underhook, and again, that near side underhook's a problem because Whittaker can't turn away from us because the cage is blocking him from doing so. Look at the emphasis on the double underhooks, right? It gives him a lot of control. Again, look how Whittaker is going to slip the hook again. He steps back, and do you see Khamzat trying to chase that hook? No. Look how he just steps behind him, and again, he stays mobile, and he starts driving his, just constantly making Whittaker put his hands to the mat and just constantly changing direction. Okay, so this scramble here I feel like does a really great job of emphasizing how important underhooks are for control, right? Even when you're trying to take the back. Notice here that Khamzat's managed to get that near side under, I guess from this view that we're looking at, it's the far side hook in, right? So he gets that hook in. And look how he keeps double underhooks, guys, right? Like he doesn't move to the seatbelt all that often. And as Whittaker tries to kind of sit through here and roll to escape this, right? He's going to try to sit to a hip. Khamzat's able to post out with one hand, and he has an underhook on the side that Whittaker's rolling to. Right now, this escape from Whittaker coming up is actually pretty nice, right? Khamzat's going to fully take his back here, two hooks in, and Whittaker right here, look how he starts to try to like get his back flat to the mat. And right here, guys, is where I feel like he has an opportunity to escape. If he can keep getting his hips out over Khamzat's knee and continue to face him, he might be able to recover some sort of guard. But the problem with that, right, is that you're still on bottom. So a lot of the times you'll see in MMA when guys get here, as opposed to jumping out over that knee and recovering some sort of guard, they'll try to spin up on top because now they've created like some separation between their partner's knees and they have freedom to spin, right? Whittaker's going to try that here, but look how that underhook, again, on the far side kind of makes it difficult for him, right? But Khamzat gets a little bit lazy here and he loses the top hip. Do you guys see how Whittaker's able to roll the top hip over? Khamzat never sinks his right leg in time, right? Or he's not able to like capture that hip and pull Whittaker back into the space. Either way, the top hip turns over. Whittaker's able to slip the elbow, and that's a beautiful escape from Whittaker. That's what I mean. There are layers to this guy's defense. But Khamzat just right back on it. He almost does the same shot as the opening of the fight. It is the same shot, right? A double leg. He gets onto that ankle. Just starts pulling that ankle out from beneath Robert Whittaker and pinning him right back down to his butt. Man, just even when you think you're out, he's just right back on you, right? And he's so technically proficient that like the odds that he lands that takedown and puts you back on the mat are pretty goddamn good. All right, this next sequence I want to take a look at. Look how Khamzat, again, he's constantly just going back and forth between threatening with punches and the choke, right? He forces you into dilemmas. He makes you make tough decisions, right? And we'll see here that Robert's going to try like kind of the same thing he did earlier where he tries to rotate his hips over and sit to one side. This time Khamzat's going to step back, right? He posts his leg outside of Robert's hips and Whittaker's hips kind of fall into that space. Now this time, look, Khamzat doesn't have an underhook on that far side, right? So Last time I feel like Whittaker was able to escape, right? Like maybe he like kind of spun up on top and that led to the escape. This time Whittaker says no, grabs his head, literally just forces his head down to the mat and uses that as an opportunity to come up on top. Now look, you guys can see here that again, if Whittaker can pop his hips out to the left of our screen and face Khamzat, he might be able to recover some sort of guard. But Khamzat is just so on top of everything. He's going to throw that hook over. It blocks the far hip, allows him to rotate his own hips up on top, right? And now, again, he's just constantly moving and suffocating Whittaker. You can see here Whittaker's posted on the knee, trying to prevent Khamzat from getting all the way into mount. He does a good job of rolling through here, right? But again, he's going to give up the turtle, and when he does, there's knee and elbow separation on the bottom side, and it lets Khamzat's right hook start to sink in. And now, where do we go back to? Our double underhooks, right? Once we're here, he's just going to start moving Whittaker up against the cage, making things miserable for him. And the finish is going to come here shortly, right? I just messed up the whole, let's see. Here we go. The finish is going to come here shortly, right? So you'll notice that Khamzat, look, he starts getting height. He starts pressing down on Whittaker's head. And this is probably to get reactions out of Whittaker, to start getting him to press back into that so that he can start locking in the choke, right? But again, fighting for the wrist control here. He's just constantly above his opponents, right? This is just nasty. Being mean with the elbow. Hits him with the strike here. I initially thought that one of these strikes right here might have been the one that broke Robert's jaw and caused him to tap so fast. But watching it back, man, I really don't think so. Maybe these softened him up. Excuse me, guys. Look, like that was like above the ear. The last one, maybe, right? The last little strike that he threw, if we rewind to it. That one maybe, but it doesn't seem like it has the kind of impact that dislocated a jaw. So when we jump forward a few seconds here, right, just some ground and pound, I feel like you'll notice, look, Whittaker's fighting the hands, fighting the hands, fighting the hands, but it's when Khamzat right here, and you can like look at the angle change, right? Whittaker's face kind of turns into it. You can see that Khamzat's locked up. He's putting the squeeze on. Here, right there. That's where the panic sets in and the tap starts to come. Right? When Khamzat gets this angle, right? Like it goes from being tight to miserably tight. And all of Robert's like weight, his head is coming down this way. His body's being contorted the other way. And I think that's where the dislocation happened personally. Because again, look, you're kind of watching Robert's hands. He's hand fighting. He's trying to clear things. It's clearly an early tap, right? Again, he's trying to reach up and maybe clear this lock off. But there, when he gets broken down, I feel like the angle and just the tightness of Khamzat's squeeze on his jaw really did probably dislocate it right there. I think it was literally just the angle and the squeeze and the understanding of leverage that Khamzat has to get Robert Whittaker out of there. So, I mean, this was a fucking brilliant finish, and a lot of people have been saying, man, that Khamzat hasn't fought a real middleweight. Well, he just beat a former world champion, one of the baddest dudes in the 185-pound division, and one of the most established middleweights that the UFC has. So there's no more denying or doubting this man. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and watching. Do me a favor, if you guys enjoyed, go ahead, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, all that good shit that us content creators, right, have to ask you guys to do. And otherwise, thanks for tuning in. Have a great day.